Large language models hallucinate. So back in the old days, 2 years ago, I asked ChatGPT to create a professional summary based on my social media profile. Totally hallucinated, said I worked at DHL, got it completely wrong. But large language models have improved a lot in the last 2 years. There are now tools to create professional summaries, and prompt engineering is a thing. But I never really wondered if AI-based translations hallucinate. And so I was really interested when I saw a study that looked at just that. When and if AI-based translation tools hallucinate, and in what ways and what contexts. So the authors found that there are two different kinds of natural hallucinations. One way is when the translated text bears no resemblance to the source text. So for example, the source text talks about prime numbers, but the translated text talks about tourist attractions in Oxford. The other way was when the translation was inaccurate. It wasn't correct, or it had words that were repeated inappropriately. So for example, the source text, the original text said, cats climb trees, and the translated text said, cats can fly and fly and fly and fly. Now this is important because while you might use an AI translation tool to help you order in a restaurant in Vietnam, and you might not get exactly the dish you thought you were going to get, but if you have a nut allergy and that dish contains nuts, then that's a serious problem. 8 organizations right now are having to slash their budgets, and they're being encouraged by their donors and are themselves looking at artificial intelligence to help them work more efficiently and more cost effectively. We heard from an organization the other day that built a chatbot based on a large language model to help women who had been abused get help and support. If that bot hallucinates and tells those women to report the abuse to the police in a context where that might be dangerous or more harmful, then that's a real problem. The authors found that the hallucinations also differ between high-resource languages and low-resource languages. In high-resource languages like French and Spanish, the translations are more likely to be inaccurate. In low-resource languages, the translations are more likely to be dissimilar, to not have any relationship at all to the original text. In addition, in low-resource languages, say from English to Tamil, the translations are more likely to be toxic, so harmful in an insidious way. And that was true across all of the models they looked at, neural machine translation or large language models, and across all low-resource languages. The authors suggest that there was a pattern of toxicity in the training data. The authors also found one other thing that I thought was surprising. They looked at fine-tuning a language model using specific terminology. They looked at COVID-19 terminology data set that Clear Global helped to develop, coordinated the development of. And they found that when you use specific terminology data set, then the resulting translations are less likely to hallucinate and are more likely to be fluent and accurate. So what does this all mean? Well, first of all, we need a lot more data and a lot more non-toxic data in low-resource languages in order to develop artificial intelligence that is safe for everyone. And secondly, we have to be very wary when using artificial intelligence to translate. Make sure that there is a reviewer, a reviser, another human looking at the translation. Or if you're using another language model, then make sure it's trained differently or using different data sets. It is surprisingly difficult to recognize when a translation is inaccurate if you don't really speak that language. So overall, be very wary. We need more data, and that's what's interesting in low-resource language tech. Be safe out there.